You are standing in a darkened room holding a flashlight. You point it at a wall with two narrow slits cut into it, and beyond that wall is a screen. You click the flashlight on. Light passes through the slits and lands on the screen. Simple, obvious. You already know what you expect to see. Two bright lines on the screen, one behind each slit, the light going straight through like water through a gap. What you get instead breaks physics. What you get is a pattern of alternating light and dark bands. Dozens of them spread across the screen, appearing in places where the light had no business going, absent in places directly behind the slits where you were certain the light would land. The screen looks like a barcode, and that barcode is not a curiosity, not an anomaly to be explained away. That barcode is the universe telling you, in the only language it has, that your most basic assumptions about what things are and how they behave are wrong. Completely, fundamentally, irreparably wrong. This is the double slit experiment. It is over 200 years old. We have run it thousands of times. We know exactly what it produces. And not one person alive, including the people who can do the mathematics in their sleep, can tell you why. Let me tell you something. I said once that nobody understands quantum mechanics. I meant it. Not as false modesty. Not as a figure of speech. I meant that the experiment I am about to describe to you produces results that are correct, reproducible, mathematically precise, and completely inexplicable in terms of any picture of reality that a human mind can hold. You can calculate, you cannot explain. And the difference between those two things is the difference between using a map and knowing where you are. Stay with me. Here is what everyone believes about physical objects. A thing is somewhere. At any given moment, a particle, a bullet, a photon, an electron, is in a specific location, traveling in a specific direction. It left point A, it will arrive at point B, and at every moment in between, it is somewhere definite along that path. This is so obvious it barely seems worth saying. A thrown ball is somewhere. A beam of light is somewhere. Things are where they are. That is what it means to be a physical thing. Now watch what the double slit experiment does to that belief. Instead of a flashlight, we use a source that fires electrons. Single electrons, one at a time, fired at a barrier with two slits. We fire one electron, it goes through the barrier and hits a detector screen. We mark where it landed. We fire another, we mark that one. We do this thousands of times, one electron at a time, no electron interacting with any other, each one making its own solitary journey from the source to the screen. And when we look at where all those electrons landed, we see the same barcode, the same interference pattern, the same alternating bands of many hits and zero hits, spread across the screen in a way that is only possible if each electron somehow went through both slits simultaneously and interfered with itself on the way to the screen. A single electron interfering with itself, having gone through two slits that are separated by a physical distance. Do you see what happens? The electron is not a particle traveling one path. It is not a thing in a place. It is something for which our language has no word, something that exists in a superposition of paths, that occupies multiple possibilities simultaneously, that behaves as a wave of probability spreading through space until the moment it hits the detector, at which point it becomes a dot, one point, one location, as if it were a particle all along. But it was not a particle all along. The interference pattern proves it. A particle going through one slit or the other cannot produce that pattern. Only a wave going through both slits simultaneously can produce that pattern. The electron is a wave until you look. Then it is a particle. What it is when you are not looking is a question physics cannot answer without sounding like it has lost its mind. If you want to understand how the universe actually works, not just how it looks, but how it works, hit that subscribe button. Let's find things out together. Now here is where it gets worse. And I need you to stay with me because this next part is the part that separates the people who have really heard this from the people who only think they have. Someone, hearing the superposition explanation, has a reasonable thought. They say, fine, maybe we just don't know which slit the electron went through. Maybe it really did go through one slit or the other, we just haven't measured it. The interference pattern is strange, but maybe it just means our description is incomplete. Maybe there is a hidden reality underneath, a definite path the electron actually took, and quantum mechanics just does not have access to it. Maybe the electron is like a coin mid-flip. It is either heads or tails, we just do not know which yet. That is a beautiful, sane, reasonable thought, and we tested it. We set up the experiment again, but this time we placed a detector at the slits, a device that would tell us without stopping the electron which slit it went through. We did this carefully. We made sure the detector was as gentle and non-invasive as physically possible. We just wanted to know, which slit, left or right? We asked the question, and the interference pattern disappeared. The moment we acquired the information about which slit the electron used, the electron stopped behaving like a wave. It started behaving like a particle. It went through one slit. It landed in one of two bands directly behind the slits. The barcode was gone, not disrupted, not blurred, gone, as if the electron knew it was being watched and decided to behave itself. Let's be honest about what this means. The electron's behavior changed not because we physically disturbed it, but because information existed in the universe about which path it took. The presence of knowledge, not a force, not a push, not a physical intervention, but the mere existence of information, collapsed the superposition, changed the physical outcome, altered reality. This is the part that keeps me up at night. Now I want to take this deeper, because there is an implication here that most explanations of the double-slit experiment carefully avoid. If the act of acquiring information changes physical outcomes, then the relationship between the observer and the observed is not passive. You are not a neutral audience watching a universe that would behave exactly the same way without you. The universe at the quantum level responds to being looked at. It presents different physical realities depending on whether it is being measured. What you would call the objective, observer-independent physical world turns out not to be fully objective and not to be fully observer-independent. Now, there are several ways to respond to this, and I want to be precise about what we do and do not know. Some physicists say the wave function, the mathematical object that describes the electron's superposition of paths, is just a tool for calculating probabilities. It is not real. The electron always had a definite path. Quantum mechanics is just incomplete. This is called a hidden variables interpretation, and it is appealing, and the physicist John Bell proved in 1964 that any hidden variables theory must be non-local, meaning that whatever is determining the electron's path must be influenced by conditions that are arbitrarily far away, instantly, faster than light. We have tested Bell's theorem experimentally. The universe is non-local. Something is connected across distance in a way that has no classical explanation. Other physicists take the wave function seriously as a description of reality and accept all its implications. On this view, the electron really is in superposition until measured. Reality really is indeterminate until observed. And the question of what counts as an observation, of what it takes to collapse a superposition, is one of the deepest unsolved problems in physics, sometimes called the measurement problem. Some go further and say that the wave function never collapses. Every time a quantum event could go one way or another, the universe branches, and both outcomes occur in different branches that cannot interact with each other. This is the many worlds interpretation. It is mathematically elegant and scientifically insane sounding, and nobody has been able to rule it out. I am not going to tell you which interpretation is correct. I cannot. Nobody can. After a century of quantum mechanics, after all the experiments and all the equations and all the Nobel Prizes, there is no consensus on what quantum mechanics means. There is only consensus that it works, that the predictions are right, that the barcode appears, that the interference vanishes when you look. Now let me bring this back to your body, to something immediate and physical and happening to you right now. Every process in your body, every chemical reaction, every signal crossing a synapse in your brain, every photon absorbed by the cells in your retina as you watch this, operates at the quantum level. The chemistry of life is quantum chemistry. The molecules in your DNA, the proteins folding in your cells, the electrons jumping between energy levels in your neurons, all of it is governed by the same rules that produce the double-slit experiment. All of it is, at some level, probabilistic. All of it involves particles that exist in superposition until some interaction forces a definite outcome. You are not a classical machine running on classical physics. You are a quantum system. Every thought you are having right now is the result of quantum events that were, until the moment they occurred, genuinely undetermined. Your certainty about the world is built on a foundation of irreducible probability. And here is the uncomfortable implication, stated plainly. If reality at its base level is not definite until observed, if the physical world is a landscape of superposed possibilities that collapse into actuality through interaction and measurement, then the universe is not a collection of pre-existing facts waiting to be discovered. It is, in some sense that physicists still argue about, participatory. It crystallizes as it is examined. It becomes definite as it is engaged. The past, in quantum mechanics, is not a fixed record of what happened. It is a record of what was measured. What was never measured may never have been definite. I am not going to tell you that this means consciousness creates reality. That is too strong a claim, and the physics does not support it in that simple form. But I am going to tell you that the universe does not appear to be a passive stage on which events unfold independently of observation. The act of looking is not separate from the thing looked at. At the deepest level we can probe, the boundary between the observer and the observed is not clean. Here is the reframe, and I find this genuinely beautiful in a way that still surprises me when I think about it carefully. For most of human history, we assumed the universe was a clockwork, a vast mechanical system, indifferent, deterministic, grinding forward according to fixed rules, with no room for openness, for possibility, for anything other than the inevitable unfolding of what was already set in motion. On that picture, your choices, your observations, your presence in the universe are cosmically irrelevant. The machine runs with or without you. The double-slit experiment broke that picture, not by introducing mysticism, not by proving that the mind is magical, but by demonstrating in the most rigorous and reproducible way science knows how to demonstrate anything, that the universe at its most fundamental level is not made of settled facts. It is made of possibilities. It presents definite outcomes at the moment and place of interaction. And before that moment, what exists is a superposition, a genuine plurality of potential realities, all equally real, waiting. You are not a passive observer of a finished universe. You are a physical system interacting with other physical systems. And at every point of interaction, at every moment of genuine contact between you and the world, possibilities resolve into actualities. The universe becomes more definite where you are. You are not just watching reality. Everywhere you look, you are participating in making it. If this twisted your brain a little bit, good. That means it's working. I'll see you in the next one.